here, and today I want to talk about something that I've seen a lot of people talk about this year in particular, and that is the whole issue and debate on whether or not authors should continue to write from the same worlds or if they should start writing new things. As someone who reads a lot of series and is in a lot of fandoms for lots of big series, I see this kind of drama. I hate using that word to describe things like this. But that's essentially what it is. Lots of people arguing about whether or not authors should continue writing from the same worlds. It happened with J.K. Rowling last year when she announced Cursed Child, and then they announced the fact that it was actually going to come out as a screenplay as well as just the play itself. It happened again with J.K. Rowling when they announced the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them screenplay was coming out. I've seen it countless times for Rick Riordan. And I think the main one who gets it quite a bit is Cassandra Clare. Now, if you've been watching my videos for a long time, you will know that I really like Cassandra Clare, and this video is in defense of people writing from the same world continuously. I understand both sides, and I understand that the argument is they're just doing it for the money, they just want more press and more people to buy their books, and they're trying to drag it out and they don't know how to write other things. And I do understand why it would be frustrating, because if you really love an author and you want new content from them, I totally get it. Like, I completely understand why you would want them to stop writing from one world and actually branch out into different genres, different types, and write about some different characters. Trust me, I get that. I totally get that. It makes sense, it makes perfect sense, and it really sucks to think that someone that you love and admire is just doing something because they want the money. It comes from also when people start releasing lots of merch and all things like that. It's understandable. You think all they want is the money so that they can keep going and keep doing more things, and it doesn't feel like what they're writing about they really care about anymore. But all of the authors that seem to get quite a lot of this do write other things as well. They have other series. Cassandra Clare has a series with Holly Black. J.K. Rowling has written lots of other things. The reason why I think they return to the series that they write the most on is because it's such a big world. Think about Harry Potter, for instance. She invented one of the biggest fictional worlds that exists today. Harry Potter is an iconic thing. It will go down in history. It broke loads of records for the first time. It was bestsellers in so many countries. The films were a massive global phenomenon and did amazingly well, and the books are still sold and reprinted so much today. So many people from so many generations love Harry Potter. It's such a big thing. If you create something that big, the how, what, why, and when of all of the characters' inventions and the place inventions and the spells and the history of that world is going to exist in your brain as well. You can't just say this is a spell they use, let's do it, without thinking about why. Why does that make sense? Where did that come from? How does that fit into everything else? So you're going to create this massive world that you're going to put on paper and publish out and give to other people, but there's also going to be so much information left inside your brain too. I remember seeing the Weasley family tree. Spoilers if you haven't read Deathly Hallows. Harry marries Ginny. So Harry was on the Weasley family tree. Their kids came off, and next to Albus Potter there was a star. J.K. Rowling said she always knew that there was going to be something different about him and something about him that she wanted to explore, and that he had something different from everyone else. That was about 10 years ago. That was a very long time ago, and I remember seeing that and thinking, what if she writes another book one day about Albus? She obviously knew so long ago that there was more about him and more in her head that she wanted to explore. And that's what she's doing with the Cursed Child. It's the same with Fantastic Beasts. Newt Scamander, he's not real, but you know, just for a second, the man Newt Scamander wrote Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them and went on massive adventures and discovered lots of things, enough to write an entire book about it. Why wouldn't you want to see that? Why wouldn't you want to know what he did and where this history came from and how he all ties into the history of the wizarding world? I understand that this kind of thing isn't for everyone and that some people just read the story and then it's done, but I am someone who gets so invested and wants to know so much about so many people. After Harry Potter ended, I wanted to know what happens next. What happened between the last chapter and the 19 years later epilogue? I'm pretty sure I'd actually sell a kidney just to know what happened in that time. And yes, there are things like fan fiction, and one of the arguments is that lots of people can interpret things in different ways and interpret different people's stories and write their own stories, and I think that fan fiction is great. I read so much of it. I think it's absolutely wonderful, but it will always just be a fan's encounter of it. I could write my own story of what I wanted to happen in between the last chapter and the epilogue, but at the end of the day, it won't be what actually happened, because the only person that knows what actually happened is the inventor of those characters, who knows these characters better than anyone else does, because they're something that came out of her mind. She knows what they do, why they do them, their reasonings behind everything, because she is the reason that they exist. And it's the same with Cassandra Clare. Cassandra Clare has announced that she is going to be releasing a trilogy of books completely dedicated to Magnus Bane and all about his life. It's basically like the Bane Chronicles, but extended. It's what happened with him and his family, his early lives, how he grew up, how he discovered he was a warlock, him and Alex's life, what they did on their holiday, little behind the scenes things. And the first book of that is due to come out in November 2017. There was a lot of backlash and a lot of people were very excited, including myself, because Magnus is my favourite fictional character that exists ever. She invented him, she knows his backstory, she knows why he acts the way he does and why he does the things that he does and all that jazz, and she's the reason that he exists. The phrase canon exists for a reason. It's what really happened within that fictional world, and the inventor of that fictional world is the only one that can tell you. Such a big in-depth world with lots of characters and lots of different people that it's great to know so much more about them and where they come from and why they have certain opinions on things, and I think it's really good. I love learning about these things. When I got the flower book, I don't know if you can see it, when I got that, in the page where there's a picture of Tessa from the Infernal Devices and a little bit of information about her, her and Magnus lived together for 10 years. I want to see that. I want to see them living together in this book. They had specific days to do certain things and it sounded really cool, and I want to know things about that. It also says on Alex's page that he once organised a birthday party for Magnus where all of the guests were cats, which is reversed from Chime and Meow's parties where all the guests are human. And it's little things like that about the characters that I love so much, that I love knowing more about, and I love knowing these little facts and things that they would do and how they would act in certain situations, and it's really cool to have that coming from the person that invented them in the first place, because I see that as set canon and what's true and what's going on. It's why I'm so excited for The Last Hours as well, which is another series that got a lot of stick because it's a sequel to the Infernal Devices. It's about what happened after Clockwork Princess and that continuation, and I needed that. I really wanted to know more about Will and Tessa and what they did. I am definitely someone that gets so invested and wants to know so much more. I'm not content to close a book and be like, okay, it's done now. When I closed Deathly Hallows for the first time, I was not satisfied. It was, what's next? Tell me what happens next. What happened in this epilogue? What happens when Albus goes to Hogwarts? What house did he get sorted into? Tell me now. I need to know. Little things like knowing that Teddy Lupin has been sorted into Hufflepuff really makes my day. As someone that writes, and as someone who is currently writing a book, I write about characters and in my head they have this real massive backstory, and they have lives, and they had lives that existed before the book started, before that first page was ever written and read. They have family and friends and experiences, and they all exist in your head when you make a character and you invent someone in such an intimate way, in such a descriptive way. There is going to be so much behind that character. My book doesn't have as many characters as Harry Potter and the Mortal Instruments series and the whole Shadowhunter world and the whole Percy Jackson and Narnia as well, and The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. There's so many characters in those which all have backstories and feelings and experiences and lives that I really want to know so much more about. I'd honestly be the happiest person in the world if J.K. Rowling said she was releasing a 19-book series and each book was a year. A year between the last chapter and the epilogue. I need that. How did Ginny and Harry go back together? Well, Ginny was a Quidditch player. Why? How? How did she fall into that? What do they all do? I want to know these things and I want to know more. Obviously, if I read one of the Magnus Bane books, if I read Cursed Child, which isn't going to be written as an actual book, but you know what I mean, and they're bad and they're written badly and it's kind of sloppy and a half-assed effort because it's all about the money, I won't want to read more. You can tell when something's half-assed. You can tell when someone that's written with so much passion and dedication for years then comes out with something just because they want it for the money, just because they're doing it because they think that they should, and that's when it's not cool. That's when I don't like it. I have no interest in reading about things that I like if it's not going to be the same, if it's going to be a half-assed effort and just attempt to get some money off people. I don't want to know about that. but I have faith in these people that they are still so passionate about these characters that they've been writing about for so long, and that they are going to tell a really good story. As long as they are happy and are going to deliver the content that's good and right and feels like the books that I love so much, then I want more. I love it when it's so in-depth and that we can build massive universes within our minds with all of these characters and know so much about them. I see them as, even though they're not real, they're 3D people, and they're people that have these little lives within the fictional universe that they exist in, and that's why I want to know more about them. And to be honest, consumers aren't as naive as I think people make out for them to be. Lots of people say to me, why do you have 3 copies of the Mortal Instruments series? Don't you know she just keeps releasing new covers because all she wants is money? And I think, yeah, and like, she's not forcing me to buy them. I like them and I want them, so I am spending my money that I earn on them. Okay? If I didn't want them, I wouldn't buy them. Even if they were there, it just so happens that I want to own them, so they exist on my shelf. Cursed Child comes out and you don't agree with writing more books about things that you should have let go, then don't buy Cursed Child. That's as simple as it is. That's literally how it works. So yes, those are my views on something that I've seen a lot of recently. And like I said, obviously I do understand where people are coming from with the whole sort of leaving nothing up to the fans' imagination and the whole money situation, and I do totally get that, and that has happened in fandoms that I've been in before, and it does suck and I understand it. And obviously if that did start to happen in other fandoms that I was in and things were bad because it was clearly just a 50% effort and they just wanted the money, I'd stop reading things because I'm not about that life. Just wanted to talk about it because I thought it's a really interesting topic. Let me know your views on this topic down below. What do you think about it? Should authors just write the original series and stop, or should they continue to write more and more until they feel like it's completely covered and everything has been spoken about? If you're new here, I make bookish videos on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, so if you'd like to stick around and all that jazz, then you can do so. As usual, all of my links are in the description if you want to come hang out with me on other social medias. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you're doing really, really well, and I will see you on Friday. Bye bye!